Hello and welcome to my YouTube channel. It is a delight to be with you again for part 2 of Feeling is the Secret. I hope you have had an opportunity to listen to the first part, which is the upload immediately preceding this one. In this part, I'm going to touch on the practical side of things and how we use feeling as the mechanism by which we fulfill the mandate impressed on us by crafting a physical human life of exceptional and extraordinary standards and an experience of that physical human life, which is part of the great drama that we all participate in as the global community. So all of our ambition to be great comes from something, it comes from somewhere, and that ambition is impressed upon us because it has a role to play in the great drama. Now, we're not all awake at the same time. Awake is a subjective term, isn't it? We're not all at the same place. We're not all doing the same thing at the same time. So if you find yourself having an awareness of this type of thing, an awareness of your innate resources, an awareness of the power of metaphysical prayer and the relationship between God and humanity, then it is because you have been elected to craft a physical human life and an experience of that physical human life, which is exceptional for divine purposes that we come to know as we perform this type of work more and more. You may remember from part 1 my reference to the Qigong, which is a term taken from a longer esoteric sequence of words which means the source from which all things derive. Now, the other words from that sequence pertain to an acknowledgement of that source as God, which some of you may prefer to call consciousness. And it's this acknowledgement, it's an acknowledgement of God being all supreme, so being the Iamulus non habetus, or the one without rival or equal. And even if you're not familiar with the language or the terminology, it's the attitude that this language evokes which is all important, and it's a sort of a double-pronged attitude. So it's this acknowledgement of the supremacy of God, and then it's the intimacy between God and us, which I touch on later. And actually, when you engage in that kind of onboarding, and by onboarding I mean selecting the attitude in which you approach God and which you perform your metaphysical prayer, you really do get to the essence of God quicker. So without going into great detail, I want to focus on how it is this attitude makes you feel, which is the feeling that Neville Goddard encourages us to make our predominant mood. When you on board with God through the attitude and approach I've just described, so that's God is all supreme and I have an intimate relationship with God, you cultivate a distinct feeling of certainty relative to what you're doing and what you're about to express. And I want to say, I really want to stress and emphasize that it's a very distinct feeling. You may not have heard me talk about it before. Neville certainly has. It's the feeling of absolute knowing. And what you are communicating to the Qigong as you are performing your metaphysical prayer is an awareness of the existence of a thing to the absolute elimination of all doubt. The feeling itself is an indication of your having reached that state. So how do you know when you've reached that state or have been humanly impressed with that feeling? Well, it's a sensation that resembles the movement of fluid throughout your physical human body from the region just above your heart, across your lungs and down to your diaphragm. So interestingly, this sensation, which very often feels cool, comes after the stimulation of your creative vortex. You remember that's your reproductive area. So once that area is stimulated, and you have been impressed with this feeling, God is all supreme and I have an intimate relationship with God, you get this cool sensation. So that's the thing to look out for. And that is proof positive that you have been impressed with that feeling of certainty. And that's what you're going to be communicating to the Qigong or to consciousness. So that all being said, the important thing to know about this sensation is that it is an experience of the essence of God, referred to as honey in the Bible. And it's the clearest indication known to humankind that one is in total agreement with one's own dimensionally greater aspect. I'd like to mention here that references to milk and honey in the Bible is the pairing of what gives life. In other words, the metaphysical prayer you perform and all of the communication and physicality involved in that and the sensation I've just described means that an agreement has been accomplished. Okay, so milk, I won't go into the details here, is to do with life, the giving of life, and honey is the essence. So when it comes to using feeling as communication, it is invaluable to set these experiences, this sensation in particular, and the climactic sensation described by Neville Goddard, as the norm for yourself. So if you have these experiences as a matter of course whenever you engage in metaphysical prayer, you're going to enjoy consistent results. You're going to eliminate doubt relative to what it is you're trying to achieve, and you are going to succeed all the time. So this is going to be the difference for you between your prayers being fulfilled or objectified and them not being so. Okay, and I do try to emphasize the fact that what we experience as human beings is divinely mandated. So we have been given a job to do and we've been given the resources to do it. And that sort of thinking helps you to feel more confident about what we call the manifesting process. So I want to insert here a little from William Blake and his poem, The Book of Thel. I believe it's a poem. It's a wonderful piece of text anyway. So it's William Blake's The Book of Thel to drive this functional intimacy between God and us home to you. And William Blake says, "But he that loves the lowly pours his oil upon my head and kisses me and binds his nuptial bands around my breast and says, Thou mother of my children, I have loved thee, and I have given thee a crown that none can take away. But how this is, sweet maid, I know not, and I cannot know. I ponder and I cannot ponder, yet I live and love." So this short passage, and I'm going to not go into too much detail, but in short, this passage explains in exquisite fashion that God is the germinator who pours out the life-giving oil on us, making conception possible, or in us. And don't worry, I'm keeping the symbolism to an absolute minimum here. It goes on to say that no one can take the authority you have been given to birth the ideas of God from you as the human aspect. Okay, so he says, you're the mother of my child. So we are the birthers of the ideas and the concepts of God. And we've been given a crown that none can take away. So no one can prevent you from achieving your metaphysical objectives. So as the human aspect, we may not know how this relationship works. It says, I ponder, and I don't know. But we persist, we live, and love, continue to give our attention to this relationship between God and us. Now, there is only one method given to the human aspect that makes communication with God for the purposes ordained by God possible, and that is feeling. And so to close this presentation, I'm now going to share with you a technique that will assist you in using this greatest of all human faculties in the way intended. At this stage, you are free to use whatever technique you want to bring yourself to a place of stillness. So you remember I've spoken about breathing. If you're completely new to this, what I typically recommend is that you breathe. You start by being comfortable and in a quiet space if you can. And then you want to close your eyes. It helps you to shut out the objective physical world. And then smile gently to just release some endorphins, because it's always good for this sort of thing. And then you're going to breathe in through your nose for 4 seconds, hold the breath for 4 seconds, and then breathe out through your mouth for 4 seconds. And if that isn't comfortable for you, do whatever deep breathing you want, but just be sure to pause in between each inhale and exhale. And then with each exhale, I want you to say the word relax as though you are asking a question. And then you're going to say yes as the breath is going out. Okay, so you've breathed in through your nose. And sorry, while you're holding your breath, I want you to say relax as though you're asking. And then as you're breathing out, you're saying yes. And then notice that your body is responding to you as you're doing that. I do apologize for making an error there. So as you're breathing in, you breathe in through your nose, you hold. And as you're holding the breath, you're going to say relax. You're asking your body. And as you're breathing out, you're going to say yes. Now you can repeat that cycle as many times as it takes for you to feel comfortable. And then I said, if you want to, you can close your eyes, you can keep them open, but I do want you to be completely shut off to the physical objective world, and that's usually best if your eyes are closed. So bear that in mind when you're going to do this exercise. So once you're relaxed, and you've told your body to relax and you feel relaxed, I want you to change your aspect. So you're going to look down through the center of your skull and down into your body. And then you're going to do a quick wave of vision and do that a couple of times. And hopefully what you're seeing as you're doing this is your internal physical environment. So the colors will be red, dark reds, the color of blood, the color of tissue, muscles, the kind of the off-white of your skeleton, maybe oranges, browns, whatever color our organs are, the color of our heart, the hue of it, the lungs, and so on. So don't think too closely about what the colours are. You're just going to be looking at your physical body using your dimensionally greater sight. And while you're doing this, become aware of a slightly oppressive sensation and a slight pressure from the top of your head, as though you feel a weight on you, a bit like a heavy coat or something resting on top of your head. It may feel a little overwhelming at first, but it shouldn't hurt or distress you. If you do feel distressed, it's important that you revive yourself. And if you want to revive yourself, for those of you who are new, keep your eyes closed, breathe in through your nose, hold the breath. And this time when you're breathing out, make an R sound and do that a couple of times. And then move your fingers and toes until you feel conscious. And do not open your eyes, please, until you feel ready. So that's what you need to do if you want to break state. But if you're able to continue, wonderful. I want you to notice this heavy feeling at first, and then notice that your human body is starting to feel lighter and emptier until you feel as though you could float away. What very often happens, certainly what has happened to me when I've been practicing this technique myself, is that the things that I saw in my internal environment started to disappear and were replaced by the pulsing grey space. And then in this discommoded state, I want you to focus your attention on something that you want your human life to express or include. So you're feeling very light at this point, very light. You're just aware of a lightness and almost an emptiness. Now, what's happening here is that the conscious mind, or the mind that is engaged in what's going to happen next, is not your human mind. Your human mind will be receiving information, but your conscious or your engaged mind will be your dimensionally greater mind. And this is the mind that's going to start cohering and forming images that are representative of what your life is going to look like with this thing as a part of it. And it's going to transmit this information to you. Now, what's important to understand here is that you don't try to get involved in shaping the picture, you just allow it to happen. Your dimensionally greater conscious mind is its heart. It is the emoting organ, which is why we communicate through the modality of feeling. So as these mental pictures are transmitted to your conscious human mind, you will feel your creative or generative vortex on the human body become stimulated. Continue to breathe as Neville describes until you reach the climactic point. Remember, your reproductive region always functions during the prayer as it's meant to, regardless of its natural physical condition. Okay, so as you're breathing, the sensation will intensify, as I say, until you reach that point. And when you reach that point, when a bond has been formed, then you simply return to the surface. Breathe in and out, as I've said. Make the R sound to help you re-engage. Move your extremities, your fingers and your toes, and don't open your eyes until you feel conscious. And it really is as simple as that. So remember, it's about onboarding through a particular attitude, and then looking at your body through that very important point, the center of your skull, feeling the weight. This is as you switch aspects from your human side to your dimensionally greater side in order to perform the metaphysical prayer. I do want to say that metaphysical prayer is always performed by the dimensionally greater self. So it's very, very important that you are in agreement. And what this particular exercise does when you are looking at your body through the center of your skull, or Golgotha as it is called, is you are engaging your body in that way. And so I want you to have confidence that what you have felt, what you have experienced is all that is necessary. These exercises don't take very long. This particular exercise might take you all of 2 to 3 minutes to complete. It might take you a bit longer if you're not used to praying in this way. Whether you are going to use this technique to express something specific or not, what it will do is continue to enhance your relationship with God. Your relationship with God will become deeper, clearer, more easy to understand as this happens. And then you're invited to exercise your heightened awareness in ways that come as an inspiration to you. But what I want to say here is the exercise, wonderful, use it to manifest whatever you want. That's absolutely fantastic and fine. What this exercise will also do is start to teach you the spiritual language of emotion. You will find it easier to communicate with God through feeling, because that is the language that God is always using to communicate with us. And so what I want you to do when you come out of this session is start to feel your way around your physical environment. So if you see a door in front of you, don't use the word door mentally, but feel what that thing is. It will be so incredibly intense and so mind-blowingly wonderful when you experience that you actually know that you used the spiritual language for door, the spiritual language for table or conservatory or garden or car or neighbor or whatever it might be, bird in the sky, your dog, your cat, whatever it might be. Start to use this language. What you're going to be able to do in the end is to tell consciousness itself, tell God itself what form to take. And so techniques of prayer will no longer become necessary. You will simply be able to instantaneously emote the things you are trying to express in your life. And that's what these exercises are helping us or training us to do. So I do hope you've enjoyed this 2-part series. As usual, please feel free to ask about anything I've said in this upload in the comment section below, and I will get back to you as soon as I possibly can. This has been an original Catherine Jigeti presentation. Until next time, stay phenomenally you.